ownership used to stop at the skin. In the age of the Gene-Corp hegemony, that boundary was erased. They didn't just sell you medicine, they sold you upgrades, optimized metabolic pathways, superior muscle fiber density, and neural processing boosters. But every upgrade came with a bio license. You didn't own your body, you leased the patents that made it function. If you missed a payment, or if you were found with unauthorized sequences in your blood, Gene-Corp sent the bio bailiffs. They weren't there to arrest you, they were there to reclaim. To them, your liver, your heart, and even your unique genetic code were corporate assets to be harvested and returned to the warehouse. We lived in the vertical slums of Sector 13, the flesh market, where the unpatented lived in the shadows of the modified elite. To the board of directors, we were genetic squatters. They believed that by owning the code of life, they had become the gods of the new era. They assumed a man whose very DNA was debt wouldn't have the strength to pull the trigger. They thought the patent was a leash. They assumed that because they could remotely trigger organ failure in their licensed customers, they had absolute control over the population. They believed that by monopolizing the future of human evolution, they had made rebellion biologically impossible. They were catastrophically wrong. They forgot that humanity survived for 100,000 years without a license. They assumed we wanted their perfection. They forgot that we'd rather be dirty and free than optimized and owned. If Gene-Corp wanted to treat our bodies like property, we decided to show them that our blood still knew how to boil. We created the null sequence protocol. And we birthed the Genome-Reclaimers. We don't use corporate upgrades. We use raw flesh and jury-rigged tech. Our armor is made of scavenged ceramic tiles and lead-lined rags to block the bailiff's scanning pulses. Our weapons aren't designed to kill the man, they're designed to jam the code. We use biostatic rifles, weapons that fire high-frequency pulses to disrupt the digital handshake between a corporate organ and its remote kill signal. We don't fight for money, we fight for the right to die of natural causes. We are the only warriors in the galaxy who see a medical kit as a tool of oppression. We are the Genome-Reclaimers and we're about to revoke your patents. I am Silas Helix Vane. My chameleon cloak is currently flickering with the static of a dozen nearby corporate sensors, and my pulse is racing at 140 beats per minute, all natural, no boosters. I am standing on a rain-slicked ledge in the heart of Sector 13, and I'm about to crash the flesh market. The descent was a drop into a neon-lit slaughterhouse. 3 extraction shuttles, sleek, sterile white craft shaped like giant scalpels, dropped from the smog-filled sky into the center of the slum. The doors hissed open and the bio-bailiffs stepped out. They wore sterile armor, white and chrome suits that looked like surgical equipment. They carried genetic sides, staves that could read your DNA from 10 meters away and liquefy your heart if it found a patent match. Engage the null fields. Don't let them scan your blood. I roared over the scrambled radio. Reclaimer 2, Sarah. They're moving into the cradle block, Silas. They've got a recollection order for the children. They say the new generation was born with unauthorized proprietary sequences. Reclaimer 3, Jax. I'm in the vents. I've got the static grenades ready. I'm going to fry their scanners before they can lock on. I launched myself from the ledge, sliding down a power line that threw blue sparks into the midnight rain. Below me, a bio-bailiff was cornering a terrified woman, his scythe glowing with a lethal red light as it searched her DNA for a taxable sequence. License revoked. I hit the bailiff with the full weight of my tactical gear. We tumbled into a puddle of oily neon-lit water. I didn't use a knife, I used a biospike, a needle filled with synthetic chaos DNA. I jammed it into the joint of his sterile armor. The suit's internal sensors went haywire, unable to identify the shifting genetic signature. The bailiff shrieked as his own suit's auto-sanitize protocol triggered, freezing his joints in a burst of liquid nitrogen. Sarah. Jax. The shuttles. The bailiffs were organized. They moved in surgical teams, using holographic projectors to map out the unauthorized biomass in the buildings. They were harvesting people like they were cutting wheat in a field. I saw Jax throw a static grenade. Karachek. The street was momentarily engulfed in a lime-green EMP wave. The holographic maps flickered and died. The bailiff's sides went dark. For a few precious seconds, Gene-Corp was blind. Now, hit the repositories. We charged the extraction shuttles. These weren't just transport, they contained the gene banks, mobile storage units for the harvested organs and blood. If we destroyed the banks, Gene-Corp lost the data and the assets. A bailiff captain, taller and more armored than the rest, stepped into my path. He swung his genetic scythe in a wide horizontal arc. I dived beneath it, the red light of the scanner beam singeing the air where my head had been a microsecond before. I fired my biostatic rifle. The green pulse hit his chest, but his armor was sequence-locked. It required a specific genetic signature to even feel the impact. "You are an unlicensed anomaly," the captain's voice boomed through his helmet, cold and mechanical. "You will be formatted. Format this." I didn't fire at his chest again. I fired at his feet. The street in Sector 13 was a mess of illegal power cables and leaking water. The biostatic pulse hit the puddle, the electrical surge traveling up the captain's boots. His sterile armor, designed for the clean rooms of the upper city, wasn't prepared for the dirty power of the slums. The internal electronics flared, the sequence lock flickering for a fraction of a second. I lunged. I didn't use a gun. I used a heavy rusted iron pipe I'd found in the gutter. Clang. The impact was absolute. The chrome helmet dented, the glass visor cracking. The captain stumbled, his optimized reflexes glitching as the static interfered with his neural link. I hit him again and again, the raw, uncalculated force of human anger overwhelming the corporate algorithms. "Sarah. Jax. The charges." We planted viral bombs on the shuttles. Not biological viruses but data viruses designed to corrupt Gene-Corp's central registry. If these bombs went off, every patent in the sector would be deleted from the database. The debt would be erased. 10 seconds. Get clear. We sprinted through the narrow alleys, the rain washing the blood off our chameleon cloaks. Behind us, the extraction shuttles erupted, not with fire but with a blinding white light that scrambled the very air. The gene banks shattered, the harvested DNA spilling into the streets, useless to the corporation and free from the ledger. The registry was dark. The patents were gone. Across Sector 13, the remote kill signals went silent. People who had been living in fear of their own heartbeats suddenly took a deep, unmetered breath. The bio-bailiffs, their armor now disconnected from the central hive mind, retreated into the shadows, their sterile white suits stained by the grime of the world they couldn't control. I stood in the center of the flesh market, my boots sinking into the wet asphalt, my lungs burning with the sharp, toxic air of the slums. I looked at my reflection in a neon-lit puddle. I wasn't optimized. I wasn't upgraded. I was just a man, made of the same ancient, chaotic code that had conquered the stars long before Gene-Corp existed. I looked up at the corporate spires in the distance, glowing like ivory teeth against the black sky. They still owned the patents in the upper city. They still owned the future of the elite. But down here in the mud and the rain, the code was ours. The debt was paid in full. Sarah and Jax walked up beside me, their faces scarred but their eyes wide with the realization of what we had done. We didn't need a medical scan to know we were alive. We could feel it in the pulse of our own unpatented hearts. "Sarah. Jax, you still in the system?" I asked, a grin breaking through the dirt on my face. I'm here, Helix. No more pings in my head. The blood is just blood again. Still standing. The registry is a ghost. We've gone off-grid, boss. I looked at the bio-bailiff captain's broken helmet lying in the street. It was just a piece of plastic and glass, no more divine than a soda can. We had looked at the gods of biology and found only a line of code that could be deleted. Humanity has proven the ultimate truth of the corporate shadow war. You can try to own the air. You can try to own the mind. You can even try to own the very building blocks of our souls. But we are the species that knows how to rewrite the ending. We are the Genome-Reclaimers. And our lives are not for sale. The registry is shattered. The shuttles are dark. The code is free. The rain is heavy but the heartbeat is steady. We're moving to the next sector before the sun realizes we're gone.